All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. It's live. We are back in the building, getting ready to have another fabulous show. You know how we do every single week. And we have a special guest that's in the building who is not a special guest, making his long-awaited return. We got a special guest that will be joining us later on in the show from the live line. We got a lot to get into tonight. On the news cycle, we had a shooting on live television. We also had a police officer assassinated. And we got a round table. And when I say round table, you know that can only mean one thing. Big Rube is back. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J is live, and it's right now.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying,
then you must be half stepping.
ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. Back in the building. Be down with us tonight by calling us up at 804-402-2893. Call us and be down with the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. So glad to have you here with us. Special thank you to those folks listening to us live on TuneIn. Special thank you to those folks that have checked out the website www.legacyinternetradio.com. And also thank you to those folks that are listening to the replays right now on YouTube. It's because y'all come and check us out every single week. That's the reason why we keep coming in here and doing this every single week. We appreciate it, y'all. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Live Action Captions, Free Spirit Enterprises, and Joseph Lewis Insurance. We'll have a word from each of our sponsors as we progress throughout the show tonight. You heard him help me out here on the intro. You haven't heard him here on the airwaves of Legacy Internet Radio or Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J in quite a long time. This brother has made his long-awaited return, and I look across the table and I see him. He goes by the name of Big Rube.
Yo.
I said he goes by the name of Big Rube.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling.
It's good to see you, brother.
Oh, it's glad to be back in the den, yo. It's been a minute.
Yeah, you in your home, man.
Yeah. Loving it.
Yeah. It looks different, though.
It does.
It looks different. You know, we made some upgrades.
It definitely has been made some upgrades.
It's
It almost looks a little,
Yeah.
high tech, as it were.
Well, you know, for those folks who want to be down with us at Legacy Internet Radio, that want to be a part of this moving train that we call us, you know how to hit us up, www.legacyinternetradio.com. Hit us up or send us an email at legacyinternetradio@gmail.com, and we can hopefully figure out a way to get you to be a part of our moving train that we call Legacy Internet Radio, because independence is, in fact, the key to building your legacy. So, Rube, man, what's been going on with you since you've been gone, man?
During the summer, the JOB takes precedence, unfortunately. And, I've been spending all my time there, but that's over now, and life is beautiful, and ready to get back in the den a little bit.
All right, well, I'm definitely glad to see you, man. It's good to have you back. Special shout out to our sister and co-host of this show, Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J's own S.Y. Butler. She's checking in with us. She's still recovering, so she's not in studio, but I know she's listening to us tonight. So she's saying what's up to the fam, and she's also saying what's up to you, Big Rube. So say peace to our sister.
What's going on, SY?
Yeah.
What is going on with you, girl?
She's recovering, so she'll be back with us hopefully we can have her on the live line so she can let her fans know that she's just fine. All right, let's get to it, man. You know, we're going to have a roundtable later on. Roundtable for those folks that are new listeners to us is Big Rube segment where he basically gives us a round table. We discuss some stuff, but we're going to talk about some other stuff before we get to that. As you know, when we originally launched Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J and Legacy Net Radio, we were known as the show that has socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. We don't do a lot of sports these days, but there are a couple of things that came up that I felt that were more mainstream, and so I wanted to kind of bring them up. Saturday night, Ruben, I don't know what you were doing, but Saturday night, I was watching the New York Yankees play a baseball game in Atlanta, Georgia against the Atlanta Braves. And there are some folks that are shocked that I wasn't there because Atlanta is one of my, places that I like to frequent. My brother K-Dub is there. I usually go to Atlanta, but for whatever reason, I didn't make it.
You make that trip.
I make that trip pretty frequently, but I didn't make it this year. Anyway, I was watching the game, the seventh inning, and the commentators mentioned that there was a crazy thing that went on. Basically, what ended up happening was a fan was on the fourth level, lost his balance, and fell all the way down to the 100 level to his death. Gregory Murray, also known as Ace, 60 years old, of Alpharetta, Georgia. He is a season ticket holder, Turner Field, where the Braves play. And by witness accounts, he was excited about Alex Rodriguez, who was coming to the plate as a pinch hitter, who had not played in that game to that point. He was excited to boo A-Rod. Jumped up in his chair to boo him, vociferously, and lost his balance and fell to his death. And so the reason why I bring this up is there are a lot of people now that are looking to have some sort of safety changes going on at the stadiums. I mean, it seems like, every couple of years there's someone that loses their life in some sort of stadium fall. I remember this happened in football games. I remember the Texas Rangers lost a fan down in Arlington last year, the year before, whenever it was. So I just want to ask your opinion or if your thoughts, if you've heard about this story, anything that you want to share with regards to how you felt when you heard about the loss of Gregory Ace Murray.
I mean, it's very unfortunate, because you never want to see someone lose their life in such a way. My condolences to his family and things of that such. As far as safety measures, my thought process is there should be some safety measures already there. Now, if he flipped over the metal bar that should be there, then it's really unfortunate. Because then the Braves, other than putting a big cage up, can't do but so much. And if you have nothing there, then yeah. But most stadiums that I've been to have some sort of, at the very least, a waist high, maybe a 3.5, 4 foot high metal bar that keeps you from, at least gives you a chance that if you do fall, you can grab yourself.
Right.
I don't know what the situation is at Turner Field, but if they don't have it, I'm pretty sure that's going to be constructed very quickly. It's just unfortunate for someone, a true fan of baseball, to lose their life in such a way. So it's definitely unfortunate.
Do you think, as a baseball fan, that the game should have been stopped or paused in any kind of way, or are you okay with the game going on as it was? And I'm gonna directly answer that briefly because I want to throw something right back at you after you comment. Do you think they should have stopped the game? Well,
I think that they probably should have stopped the game to make sure that the person is okay, or for EMS to get there. But it all depends, because you don't want EMS trying to get to the guy and then somebody gets hit with a home run. So yeah, they should stop the play for that reason, to make sure that situation be taken care of.
Right.
That would be the only reason I would think you would stop the game.
The reason why I asked that is I remember back in May of 1999, we were brothers back then, and I remember we were big pro wrestling fans then, as we are to this day, and we were at I think we were at your house.
No, we were at
The Pats.
Yeah,
It
Pats.
was at Pat's house.
believe it,
Okay.
Pats.
Anyway, we would have the wrestling pay-per-view parties where we would gather anywhere from 5 to 20 of us, depending on how many people would gather. We watch pay-per-views. Anyway, Google those listeners who are not big pro wrestling fans, and Google May 2006, 1996, I believe 1999. I'm sorry, May 26, 1999. I'm pretty sure was the date. My apologies. Anyway. In the pay-per-view, Owen Hart, who is the younger brother of Bret the Hitman Hart, was tragically killed in the middle of a stunt that had gone wrong at the pay-per-view. And I remember watching that live, and Jim Ross, who was calling the match at the time, announced on live pay-per-view that Owen had in fact died. We all thought it was kayfabe, but we found out that it wasn't. Kayfabe is fake storyline for those folks that don't know the lingo. They didn't stop the pay-per-view. They kept going. And I remember at the time being outraged, just absolutely being outraged that they didn't stop the pay-per-view. Owen was my guy. I don't remember what your position was back then, but is it similar to how you feel about this one?
Well, the show must go on. I mean, it's one of those things, yeah, actions happen. But, you know, I think too, and even in any situation, to stop what you were doing, you know, some things you have to, like racing. If you have a 50-car pileup, well, I guess, you know, racing stopped for the day. But, you know, for something like that, you know, what would he would have wanted, you know, and really as fans, is that the last memory you want to have of the event? Unless it was the last thing, you don't want that memory to be the last thing you remember. And that's why they kept going. It wasn't a fact where they didn't want to, they didn't feel bad or whatever. It's one of those things where, you know, when it's all said and done, people pay good money.
Right.
And you don't want the last thing that they remember seeing. It's not even about the money at that point. You don't want the last thing they see is somebody die.
That's why I'm still listening to her. She says, how awful, condolences to the family. It's a true shame. She thinks the game should have been delayed. The Owen Hart thing in 1999, I felt like the pay-per-view should have been stopped at that point, personally. Because there's a lot of reasons, you know, and I'm going to take some heat for some of my reasons, but I'm prepared for that. Owen fell into the ring. They literally had to take his body out of the ring. He hit his head on the ring post. And so that was right there in front of everybody. And so if you're looking at the ring, which most people are, even in between matches, you probably saw this happen. Mm-hmm. So I was okay with them stopping the pay-per-view at the time, and they did not. As far as the baseball game on Saturday night, I'm okay with them continuing to play because it happened in a part of the stadium that I'm sure 95% of the people in the building had no idea what had just happened. And so I get the respect for the guy, and they did pause for just a few minutes so they can kind of get everybody's attention back on the game, at least people on the field. But they got everything squared away with regards to getting him on a stretcher and moving him out of there to get him some medical attention, and that was done very swiftly. And so I'm okay with them not stopping the baseball game with regards to that. Let me just directly respond to your comment about the memory of Owen Hart. There's nothing that could have happened before or after him dying in a ring that would have made that pay-per-view anything other than the pay-per-view that Owen Hart died at. You know what I mean? Like, that was, you know, I guess another difference in, you know, not minimizing someone's, you know, death over another, but, you know, it'd be the equivalent of, you know, your favorite baseball player dying on the field or your favorite, you know, football player dying on the field. Like, Owen was, he had a lot, you know, he had a lot of love.
Yeah,
he was one of my guys. I was an Owen Hart fan. And so I think it's different when it's the performer versus a fan, and that may not be politically correct. It's just how I feel. Ain't no how Steppin with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. Now, this next one, Ruben, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the airwaves of Legacy Internet Radio in depth, and we're not going to talk about it in depth now, but we are going to touch this because I'm very, very, very annoyed, as I was several years ago, by the story that surrounds Michael Vick.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I am annoyed is many of us know that Michael Vick signed a contract. That's why, if you're still listening, I do want you to comment on this one because I know you're a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael Vick signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers last week to be their backup quarterback. The same team that has Ben Roethlisberger on it. Now, for those folks who have literally been living on a rock, under a rock, or have been in solitary confinement for the last 8 years, Michael Vick was sentenced and convicted and went to prison for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever it was because of his participation in a dog fighting ring here in Virginia, where he is from. Ben Roethlisberger, who is the main quarterback for the same team, was not convicted, was not charged, but he did pay off several women in rape charges. Some folks think that it's the same, and they're outraged by both. Some folks don't think that it's the same because Ben was never charged. He just paid folks off. But Michael Vick, of course, did in fact go to prison, and he has been saddled with the baggage of having been a convicted felon for the things that he had done. So I'm going to ask you, Ruben, your opinion of these folks who are protesting the Steelers, and you've got people saying that. There was one quote that I saw. This woman said that her football watching experience will never be the same again until Michael Vick's off the Steelers, and she's allegedly a season ticket. I tell her to get a freaking life, personally. Yeah, I guess I tip my hand on how I feel about this, but what's your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts have not changed since the Michael Vick situation. If you say that an animal's life is worth more than a human's, then we already have problems. Don't get me wrong, and with full disclosure, I'm not a fan of animals. However, I am not going to sit here and rate the life of any animal to be higher than those of another human being. And that's the problem I have. If you're going to sit here and tell me that Michael Vick did what he did to animals is a comparison of Roethlisberger sexually assaulting women, then I need you to get a clue and really take a look at where your values lie, because that's stupidity. You know, a lot of people have given me issues about this. They don't like the way I feel that way, and well, you don't like animals, Big Rube, so why should it matter to you? Well, if you're going to sit here and tell me that this dog is more important than your neighbor, or more important than, you know, your own flesh and blood, regardless of what they are, what they did, then we have issues. And furthermore, I feel as though that, yeah, he was never convicted, but you really think he ain't do nothing? Come on, man.
I look at it like this. You remember how they saddled Michael Jackson with the innuendo because, you know, he paid people off.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? You know, it amazes me sometimes how people pick and choose who they want to be outraged over.
Exactly.
You want to be outraged because Michael Vick, you know, did something that was terrible, but you don't want to be outraged, you know, by people that go hunting in your neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people go, you know, people want to, you know, honestly sit there and argue with me about the difference between going hunting and fighting dogs. I mean, you're literally going out into the woods for sport, and you're shooting animals dead, you know, for sport. You know, and then you hang their head up in your man cave. Like, what's the freaking difference?
And then on top of that, Michael Vick got convicted because he owned the property. He didn't actually do any of that. It was his family who snitched on him owning the property, which got Michael Vick in trouble. There was never any proof of him making any of the shots. Hey, I need you to go ahead and do this and do that. He never did that. Right. It was never proven for him to do that. The proof was he owned the property, and because he owned the property, he was responsible.
He had to take the hit. That's why I'm saying that she can't believe some folks. She thinks they're two different situations. She thinks the problem has to do with the color. Rape is far worse, and he should have been convicted. It's just no comparison. It's stupid.
But if Michael Vick wins the Super Bowl,
those people are going to be fine with it.
Of course.
If they go and get their 7th Super Bowl on the arm of Michael Vick because you know, because Ben Roethlisberger, you know, hopefully doesn't, but just hypothetically speaking, gets hurt or something, and they stuck with Michael Vick, them same people that's got a problem right now are going to be all over Michael Vick. You know, all
Good job. He's the greatest.
Yeah, he's great. You know, she also continues. She loves dogs, but they don't compare, to a woman being raped. And I mean, personally, I never really understood. First of all, I didn't understand the outrage on the first level, but for it to be this many years later and these people are still all over Michael Vick, I think that it's one of those. I think people, you already got your pound of flesh. It's time to just let it go. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Just let it go. Like let it go. He paid his debt to society, the debt that they said that he needed to pay. He went to prison.
Yeah.
Federal prison.
Yeah.
And he came home, and you know, some folks want to talk about how he shouldn't have the privilege to play in the NFL. You just jealous because you ain't got that skill.
Exactly.
It's what, I don't know, 800 people in the NFL or whatever the number is in the NFL. 800 people, and I don't know the number. Let's just say 800 people that have that skill. It's not a privilege.
And he plays at a high level.
He plays at a high level. So get over yourself. Said is listening. What up, bruh? Thank you for listening to us tonight, brother. Says deer meat is used to get food. That's the difference for him. I'm not moved by that personally, just simply because, you know, we can move that from deer to name another animal that folks go out and they hunt, you know, and even if we did speak to only the folks that go and hunt for animals that they're going to eat, there are plenty of people that hunt for animals that they're not going to eat. They get their buck points and all that kind of stuff, and it's for sport. And so what is the difference between having my two pit bulls tear each other limb from limb versus going out in the bush and waiting for some unsuspecting buck or doe to come by so that I could put a bullet in them? I never understood the difference here, personally. That's just me, you know. But then again, I'm not into either or.
It's a sport. And then furthermore, and I'm gonna drop it a different way. Who are these people in Pittsburgh think they better than the people in Philly? Same state, different location. What, you too good for Michael Vick? He was good in Philly. Philly was cool to have him. And he too good for you?
I will stop you there and remind you that they did wild out in Philly too.
They wild out for like 6 months, and then he won some games, and everybody stopped wilding out.
Well, it hasn't been 6 months. It's been 6 days. So we'll see.
But I'm just saying, you know, wilding out is wilding out. But it wasn't to this level in Philly.
I mean, I don't want to belabor the point with, you know, revisionist history, but I think it was to this level. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. live from the Den. Legacy in that radio. We're gonna take our first break of the night, and when I'm not sure what that was about. Shout out to Lisa P.
Exactly. That's what a shout out
to the First Lady. Legacy in that radio. We're gonna take our first break of the night. When we come back, we are going to talk about the tragic shooting last week of the TV station reporters here in Roanoke, Virginia. We also going to talk about the police officer or the sheriff's officer deputy that was executed in Texas. And I got a story out of Arizona that I'm going to have you guys kind of ponder, that's going to make you kind of tilt your head to the side and say, what the hell is this fair, how this person is being treated versus how another person who had a similar situation was treated. Big Rube, Marcus J. Later on, Cousin Terry. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We'll be back in a few minutes. Y'all stay with us.